Hey folks, before we start today's video, I just want to mention the new microgreens course we've launched, how to start a microgreens business from scratch with my good friend Jonah Kroc-Malnick. And this course has it all. In fact, this is the microgreens course I wish I would have built, but I haven't been in the game for the last couple of years. But Jonah has. His farm in Toronto generates $700,000 of revenue a year in an indoor growing space. Absolutely incredible. There's a link to a webinar, a free webinar, some training on microgreens if you want to check it out. In the webinar, you're going to learn the equipment you need to start, the easiest varieties to start with to grow, and how to get repeat customers. So there'll be a link somewhere in the video. If you're interested in that, go check it out. So for today's video, what I wanted to show you guys is how I'm building soil on a mountain. So if you've been following my vlogs, if you remember FromTheField.tv, which is where I post all my daily vlogs, or if you tune into the weekly updates I do here on YouTube every now and then, you might have heard me talk about over the last year or so the challenge I have on this property. I have many challenges, but one of the biggest challenges I have, especially pertaining to growing food, I would say it is the biggest challenge I have pertaining to growing food here, is I don't have a base of soil in the places that I want to grow. What I've discovered is I actually have a lot of soil on site, but they're always in low-lying, dark, treed areas where there's a natural water catchment. And the areas that I want to grow food on, like in the open area here, I've built this terrace that's about 1/5 of an acre big, and I've built many of them on the homestead here. But these don't really have soil on them. There's some soil you can see on the ground. There is a base of some clay looking stuff with a lot of rock, and mostly rock. And so what I've been doing here is I have been retrieving soil from some of these areas that I have on the homestead. And I thought I'd kind of show you my process and what I'm doing here. So the first thing I did here was I created this terrace. The base of this terrace was created last year, really rough, with a bigger machine that didn't have an articulating dozer blade, like mine has an articulating dozer blade. And so it just kind of made it rough. There wasn't really much to it, but I could clearly see the general shape. And what I started yesterday, was I came back in here with my mini excavator and my skid steer, and I graded it out better. So I pushed out the edge more, fanned it out more, and went back and forth on it, really packed the hell out of it, which isn't what you typically would want to do when you're preparing farmland, but we are in non-typical circumstances. Because I have to kind of pack it down, and really what I do is I go back, and once I use the dozer blade a lot. I'll use the bucket to chip away at the high side, move any big rocks that I need. Sometimes I have to jump out of the machine to just hand bomb a rock out of the way. And then I just a lot of back and forth with the mini excavator and the dozer blade going in different directions. My mini excavator has a 6-way blade, so it can turn this way, it can go this way to push ground to one side or the other, and it can go up and down. And so it's really fantastic for shaping earth. So essentially I had to shape the earth first, and then what I've done is I've got my own little soil mine here, if you will. It's turning into be a bit of a pit mine. And what I've got going on there is I've got the mini excavator parked down there, I'm using the cleanup bucket. And in this little area, I've talked about it in previous videos, but there's a significant soil deposit there. I've got about 6 inches of really nice cream, as I call it, soil, which is mostly black, lots of organics, very beautiful humus layer, forest floor type soil. And then underneath that, I've got 2, 3, sometimes 4 up to 6 feet of a really nice clay subgrade base, which is what I'm using as the base. And so what I've done is at the mine area, I've gone in with the mini excavator and I've scraped away the top 6 inches and I've put that into a pile. Then I come in with the same machine, and I dig deeper to get the subgrade material, which if you look at the area in front of me here, is the brown stuff, and the blacker stuff is the top grade. So the top grade and the subgrade. So I come in with the subgrade, I make some piles that are easy to pick up with the skid steer, and then I come in with the skid steer and I lift up loads and bring them in one at a time. I think I've done probably 30 loads to get to where I'm at so far, which is about half, a little bit, call it 60%, 70% of an area that is 40 feet by 23 feet. And this is going to be the first area of beds that I plant on the farm. So let's go over and I'll show you what I'm doing. So this is my subgrade material, and I would still call this really nice soil. It's loam. It's a really nice balance of clay and sand. And I can clearly see sand and clay in it. If you take a clump of soil in your hand and you squeeze it, and it creates a ball, but then it kind of breaks apart really easy like that, that's a nice consistency, and that shows me that there's clay in there that holds it. If it was just sand, it would just fall apart. But I can feel between my fingers the grittiness of the sand, which is a good sign. So it's a really nice base layer, and there's roots in there and stuff, and that's okay. I'm raking it out. So what I do is I come in with the base layer and I lay it out in an area, but not so wide that my machine can't get over to bring in the top layer, the top grade stuff. So I come in with the subgrade, lay it down with the machine, and as I drop piles, I'll take the blade from the skid steer right behind me, and I'll just kind of spread them out a little bit and just spread about this high. I'm going about 8 inches off my base grade here. And then I come in with the rake and I'll rake this stuff out sort of back and forth, taking out all the big roots and rocks that I can. And what I'm doing particularly on this site is I'm working the stuff back this way on the base grade, and all the roots that I rake out, I'll just leave on the base grade, and when I come in with the next load of subgrade material, it'll just go right over top of that, and that stuff I won't see on the surface, because I'm not going to be tilling this soil for a very long time. Well, I might do a very shallow cultivation, but I won't need to till this because it's essentially been tilled. It's been bucketed and moved. It's very fluffy. Doesn't need tilling. So anyways, all that residual organic matter will just sit underneath this material and decompose and break down to make more soil eventually. So once I rake out my subgrade material, then I've got my piles of top grade material. This stuff, which is the real cream, but it has a lot of organics in it. This stuff has more organics in it than the subgrade because it's more near the forest floor. So you've got decomposing plant residue, you've got recent branch pieces from whenever we logged this area. And so again, I'm taking all that organic residue and just throwing it down on the base grade and then covering it all up. So what will happen next here is once I get an area of 8 inches of subgrade and maybe an inch or 2 of top grade stuff, I'll bring out my measuring tapes and I'll start shaping this area out, and I'll be shaping out all of my beds manually, and I'll be forming them that way. If you've watched my YouTube channel, especially my older videos, you've probably seen me do it hundreds of times. On my urban farm, I had to do it on a fairly regular basis, but I'll be shaping out my beds, and then that'll essentially be it. And then from there, I'll just be working other sections on the property. I've got a number of different terraces here, but I want to just get one and done, get some beds shaped, and then plant some crops in the ground. I have some stuff that needs to go in the ground right away, so I'm really eager to just finish this area here. But yeah, that's essentially how I'm doing this, and I'll leave it there. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, share the videos with your friends, and if you want to see my daily vlogs, head over to fromthefield.tv. That's where I vlog daily, and I post all of my content there. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.